Hi, thanks for tuning in. In this video we'll be discussing the SP1000 Spot cleaning gun. We'll be talking about maintenance, troubleshooting, and how to do some simple repairs. When it comes to normal maintenance for this gun, there are really only two things you have to worry about: emptying and bleeding the gun and lubricating the gun. So here we are emptying out the cleaning fluid, putting it back into the container. Then we will spray the gun until nothing comes out, replace the jar, and the gun is ready to go for the next day. This should be done on a daily basis. Try not to get into the habit of leaving cleaning fluid in the jar, in the working mechanisms of the gun overnight or for long periods of time. When it comes to lubricating the gun, the first method and most recommended method is what we're doing here. After the gun is bled, simply put the suction tube in some odorless mineral spirits and spray it until it comes out of the gun. There's also an oil port on the top of the gun, so you can put a drop of oil in, work the adjustment knob in front of it, returning the adjustment to the place where it was factory set, and you're good to go. With this method of lubrication, we are removing the suction tube, putting a couple of drops of oil where the suction tube was, replacing the suction tube, putting the gun away from us, hitting the trigger, letting the oil work its way through, and replacing the jar. Please remember that when you put cleaning fluid back in the gun, spray it for a couple seconds before spot cleaning. That way you're sure that the gun is cleared of all of the lubricants so you don't run the risk of staining your fabric. In this section of the video we'll talk about troubleshooting and how to do some simple repairs to your SP1000 Spot gun. The most common call we get is the gun doesn't spray right or it doesn't spray at all. So we're going to talk about checking the nozzle and replacing the nozzle, looking at the valve and replacing the valve, and examining the suction tube and replacing the suction tube. Later on we'll get in a little bit more involved and look at the pump cylinder, the piston, the spring, and how to repair and replace those items as well. Okay, now we're going to see what a clogged nozzle looks like. See how it sprays kind of inconsistently. That could be caused by some lint or other contaminant caught up in there. The best way to clean it is with compressed air, not a needle. If that doesn't work, you might have to replace the nozzle, which we're doing here. Simply remove the old nozzle with a wrench and replace it with the new nozzle. When you put the new nozzle back on, you want to hand tighten the nozzle, leaving the extension at about the 3 o'clock position, and then use your wrench to tighten it the rest of the way straight or to the 6 o'clock position, which is what we're doing right here. And there you go. Okay, now we'll look at the valve. When you take off the nozzle, check out the valve as well. It's a spring with two plastic ends. If it's discolored or misshapen, replace it with a new one. And it's very easy to do, as you can see right here. Also, if you find that the gun continues to spray once you turn it off, that also might be an indication that the valve is bad. So just replace it as you see it being done here. Sometimes when little or no cleaning fluid is coming out, there could be a crack in the suction tube. So what you want to do is spray the gun, look for bubbling along the tube to see if you can identify a crack, or look at the suction tube, see if it is degraded at the bottom and along the filter. Sometimes that will break off and cause clogging in the nozzle. When the suction tube is discolored, like you see here or in the other one, the suction tube should be replaced. Okay, now that we've checked our nozzle, our valve, and our suction tube, if you try to spray the gun, nothing's coming out and it makes a loud noise, you can use the technique that we're doing here, in which case we're taking off the suction tube, putting oil into that chamber, then replacing the suction tube. And what we're doing in essence is priming the gun with oil. So we're putting the suction tube back in place, and then we will spray the gun while it is upside down, pointing it away from us, and then turning the gun right side up, spraying it again. And if it comes out both times, it's a good chance that you just fixed the gun, pour some cleaning fluid in there, and you're back in business. Okay, sometimes your gun will make not a loud noise, but a humming noise, kind of like this. That's an indication that the piston is kind of frozen in the pump cylinder, and we're going to show you how to remove the pump cylinder, just like that, loosening the screw and pulling out the chamber. These are the ingredients that go into it: the pump cylinder, the piston spring, and the piston. And we're oiling up the piston and the pump cylinder. Then we'll put it all back together, put it back into the pump housing of the gun, and hopefully our gun will be operational again. Sometimes when you remove the pump cylinder, as we're doing here, you will notice some corrosion, some rust, could be, but basically if you cannot separate the piston from the pump cylinder by hand, you're going to have to replace all three parts, which would be the pump cylinder, the piston, and the piston spring, to get your gun operational again. Well, this is what your gun should sound and operate like. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you found this video helpful.